The unseen first step, when your life running on autopilot. Have you ever lived an entire day, and remembered none of it? You wake up. You eat. You scroll. You work. You come home. You numb out. You sleep. And then you do it again. This isn't life. It's a script. In today's story, we follow a man who thought he was living, until he noticed the life he lives running on autopilot, and started questioning himself. Bonijawa presents a story of a journey back to oneself. This isn't a feel-good video. Chapter: The Man. He lives in a body that feels borrowed, like a shell moving through days that blur together. He doesn't remember when it started, only that one day he realized he no longer knew how to be himself. Like opening a book where the pages are blank, yet somehow, the weight of the story is still there. He moves. Constantly. Restless. Chasing something he can't name, driven by a hunger he doesn't understand. The motions are familiar: wake, work, build, scroll, sleep. But none of it touches him. Not really. Thoughts intrude, the ones he tries to silence. Actions repeat, even when they make him feel hollow. He watches himself choose the things he swore he'd avoid. Again and again. There's a kind of exhaustion inside him, deeper than sleep can fix. An emptiness that doesn't ask to be filled, only obeyed. And so he moves, like a ghost with muscle memory, pulled forward by something invisible, something ancient. Not living. Not dying. Just, continuing. Chapter: The Unseen First Step. So, is he lost? No. He's simply forgotten what it feels like to be himself. Somewhere along the way, he became what the world told him to be. And in that slow becoming, he lost the original shape of who he was. But he's still here, breathing, moving. Is this a mistake? Was it a bad decision? No. It was survival. Early in his life, before he had language or understanding, he learned the quiet rules of staying alive: adapt, observe, imitate. He mirrored the environment, caregivers, voices, patterns, and in doing so, took the unseen first step. The unseen first step wasn't some dramatic moment. No explosion, no tragedy. Just the soft, silent conditioning of self. He was exposed to realities that weren't his, long before he had any say. Born wired for connection, he depended on those around him for everything. And it's in those first relationships, the ones that defined safety, where the subtle deviation began. To stay close, he began to trade pieces of himself. He dialed down what wasn't accepted. He turned up what earned approval. Not out of fear, but out of need. This wasn't cruelty. Most caregivers only passed down what they were handed. And so the inheritance continues: patterns, beliefs, expectations, all received before choice was even possible. This is the unseen first step. The moment authenticity is quietly bartered for belonging. A silent negotiation made in the name of survival. Why is it unseen? Because it happens before choices. Before language. He didn't decide to hide parts of himself. The world taught him how, gently, relentlessly. And the strategy worked. It gave him connection, acceptance, a place in the structure. But over time, that 1-degree shift, the slight detour from his true self, compounded. Years later, he's far from where he started. A stranger to himself, following a map he didn't draw. And that's how it begins. Chapter: The Drift. What is the drift? The drift is everything he did to adapt. The quiet compromises he made after that unseen first step. The slow, subtle suppression of his original self. In exchange for survival, acceptance, identity. He didn't choose it consciously. But over time, it became his second skin. And eventually, it felt like just who I am. But it wasn't him. It just felt like him, because it had been practiced long enough to pass as real. The drift doesn't look dramatic. It shows up in the everyday. It feels like, this is what I need. When in truth, it's just what keeps him moving. Makes him feel like he's doing something. Living. Progressing. Even if it's all surface. So he changes personalities. Repairs himself, as if he's broken. Searches for identity, like it's a missing object. He does more. Reads more. Pushes harder. Fixes himself again. He pulls away from people, convinced the environment is the problem. Moves homes to find peace. Leaves relationships to avoid pain. Or escapes inward, constructing entire realities in his mind. Just to avoid the weight of the one he's in. But it's not about doing more. When he finds himself running on automatic. When he feels like he can't fully function as himself. The truth is brutal. He's not broken. He's not lazy. He's not irresponsible. He's just forgotten what it feels to be himself. Because he's too busy being what the world told him to be. And as long as he keeps clinging to the identity that feels like who I am, he will keep feeding it. Keep fulfilling it. Because that identity isn't there to help him grow. It's just trying to survive. That's story for today. Most people running their lives on automatic mode. If you're different, you belong here. Subscribe, like and share, because this is the hardest path, and not all people willing to take this less traveled road. In the next episode we'll tell a story about wrong answers. When you find yourself feeling incorrect, your logic tells you to search and find the answer. That's when the answers you find may lead you to add another layer to the questions, rather than providing answers. See you in the next episode, and thank you for being here.